Hello, I'm Suzanne Culberg, the Nope Coach. Welcome to Why Saying No is Often the Best Thing You Can Do for Your Audience. We get into the podcasting game because we like talking, we love interviewing, we love getting to know people, and it's often challenging, especially in the beginning, to say no to people because why do you have a podcast if you don't want to talk to people? The thing is, you want to talk to the right fit people for you. And notice how I said for you, because we're all right and worthy and whole as human beings. I'm not arguing that. But sometimes we don't align with our values. We don't align with the things that we're talking about. And all you need to do to see this is go scroll Facebook or any other social media platform, and you see a whole bunch of dissenting opinions. And that's not in service to anyone. So when you say no to some people, it's actually a triple win. It's a win for yourself, it's a win for your potential guest, and it's a win for their audience and everybody aligned. And here's why. There's four main reasons. When somebody approaches you to come on your show, you want to ensure that there is some level of audience overlap. Now, what do I mean by that? If you take a stance against something, so say, for example, you're completely anti-AI, you're like, if they're not going to go to the effort of writing their sales page, why should I bother reading it? You are totally no AI. And then you have somebody on your show who's totally pro AI. They talk about how it's the best thing ever, and they write all their sales pages, and they live their laptop lifestyle, and they make money in their sleep, and AI thanks to everything. Both of your audiences are going to be confused by this. Your audience is going to be like, why are they talking to this person? They're always going on about how they can't stand this, and now they're bringing them onto the show. And their audience is going to be confused about why they're speaking on a show that is anti the thing that they're talking about. So you want to have some level of audience overlap so that it's a win for everyone. Because we all know what it's like when you find a new author or a new podcast or a new movie or something you're passionate about. You can't stop talking about it. And you talk about it to people who you know will talk about it. Like, I am a total sci-fi nerd, and my late mother couldn't stand sci-fi at all. So I knew when something new came out that I was passionate about, she wasn't the person to go to, but I know other people who were. So when you choose your audience, you're literally choosing your audience to make sure that's in service to everybody. So there is big overlap with that. If you're like anti-AI, you're not going to interview people who are espousing their entire business is why you should use AI. It doesn't overlap. The second part about saying no is sometimes it's the topic. Now, this is a podcaster by podcaster choice. Some hosts will say, once I've covered a topic, I don't want to talk about it again. Once I've talked about AI, or once I've talked about SEO, or once I've talked about boundaries or whatever, that topic is covered. So far, the end, goodbye. Other podcasters might be like, well, let's talk about this aspect or that aspect. Or you might bring somebody on who has a slightly different opinion to the last SEO person you talked about, because it encourages binge listening, it encourages a narrative, and it encourages like a storyline where you have that through line. So some people, when you pitch a show or come onto your show, you might be like, actually, I've already covered that. I'm not interested, thanks. Or you might be like, I've covered that, but from this angle, what else have you got? Because in terms of topic as well, when people pitch to come on your show, I think sometimes people feel a pressure to say yes or no on that initial email or that initial meeting. It can be, and I encourage it to be, a conversation, a back and forth, because if they pitch a couple of topics and you're either not interested in those topics or you've already covered them, like, what else have you got? Because there could be different avenues that you haven't yet explored. So the topic can be a immediate, it's a no thank you from me. Thanks for messaging me. Goodbye. Or it could be, I'm not interested in that, but what else is there? So the topic can be quite a great back and forth piece, or it can be an immediate, like, no. Like if somebody messaged me about cryptocurrency, it'd be like, no, for me personally, but to someone else, they might be like, oh my gosh, yes, I've been looking for someone to speak about that. And I think that's the thing too. Sometimes we're worried about rejecting people, and it's like, if my audience isn't interested in cryptocurrency and I'm not interested in cryptocurrency, then it's not in best service to bring on a guest expert to speak about cryptocurrency, because the show is going to go nowhere. And that leads into the third point, is rapport. So we've all seen a movie or a TV show where the lead actors just have no chemistry and it's about as exciting as watching paint dry. And you're just like, oh, I just don't want to watch this. It can be like that with your show too. If you have no rapport with your guest, then your listeners will pick up on that. It's like an energetic BO. You can just hear it in the tone, especially listeners who know you really, really well. So say, for example, they pitch you a topic that you're not interested in, and for whatever reason, you can't say no, so you go forward with it. You can just tell. Like, if you're genuinely not curious and you're just going through the motions, the show, often I've had a few shows where it wasn't the most interesting topic to me. And I felt as the host like I've done a great job, but it's always reflected interestingly, or maybe not so, in the downloads. It's like people can pick that up, like, as I said, energetic BO. So in terms of rapport, as the host, you get to decide how you go about building that. Some hosts 100% are insistent on a pre-show meetup, like Zoom, Cuppa, whatever it is, 10 minutes, let's have a chat, let's make sure that we're on the same wavelength. I don't do that personally. What I like to do is when a guest pitches to come on the show, I'll ask them, can you send me through a link of where you've spoken about this before or another podcast or show that you've been on so I can listen to them and see, like, do I think that we're going to have a good flow, a good back and forth here? Because sometimes you can just tell that they're, as I said, every person is whole and amazing of themselves, but are they a fit to go together? I tend to talk quite fast, and some people speak really slowly. When we get on a show together, it's really obvious that we just don't have good rapport and good connection. Doesn't mean they're not a fabulous guest. It's just not a fabulous guest for my show. So how will you establish rapport? Will you insist on a 10-minute pre-show, giving them the link to book in catch up? Will you ask them, hey, can you show me where you've been featured before? There's just ways to know, like, as I said, because you don't want somebody on your show who you can't establish good rapport with. There's no chemistry there. And it's like a bad TV show. And the audience is going to go, and your energy is going to go, and it's not a win for anyone. The fourth thing to consider is, do you have what I call an aligned promotional strategy? Now, what I mean by that is some podcast hosts don't care. They're like, I just interview people, and if they share it, great. And if they don't, great. And, if that's you, you can communicate that in your onboarding or as people are pitching you. Some people are insistent, like, and if you are insistent, communicate that to your guest before you record, before you get them onto the show. Like, I insist that you send a solo email, or you do X number of social media posts, or you publish on LinkedIn, for example. So I personally don't have LinkedIn. So if someone's requirement for their show is must publish the episode on LinkedIn, that's an immediate disqualifier for me as a guest. Sometimes people don't read your requirements. So when you are doing this chat back and forth, you can say, hey, one of the requirements of my show is that you publish it on LinkedIn. Will you do that? And if they say no, then you can say no to them then and there. Wishing you all the best. That's a requirement for my show. Because the thing is, what is your overarching bigger thing for your podcast? Some people are simply doing it for the love of podcasting, and that's wonderful. Some people are doing it to build their business. Some people are very strategic about how they do it. And if you don't have this aligned promotional strategy, then there can be some disconnect. Like, what happens after the show's been recorded? Because a lot of people spend a lot of energy pitching, a lot of energy recording, a lot of energy in the front end, and then the show goes live and it's like, so what is it for you? What are your requirements for a promotional strategy afterwards and connecting afterwards? Like, is podcasting your way of networking? If you're anything like me, who is a incredibly shy, awkward introvert, I love podcasting because I only speak to one person, but it reaches hundreds and sometimes thousands of people. So this aligned promotional strategy, this networking, this what happens afterwards, so that, the guest doesn't ghost the host, so that you get the most out of it. And some people, they just want to go on podcasts and collect them like Pokemon cards. Got to catch them all. And that's okay. But if your show is like, actually, no, this is what I require from you going forward, then you can be clear for that. Do you require them to have listened to your show beforehand so that they know the flow, they're familiar with how it goes? Or do you prefer them to have not listened to anything and then they're like thrown into the deep end? Do you require that they provide you with questions? Like, do you want the guest to go, here's the questions you want me to ask? Or do you prefer more conversational style? You get to decide. It's your show, what best works for you, and that can change over time. And then how you communicate that to your potential guests and have this back and forth. Don't think everything rides on one email, so that you can get the most and attract the best fit guests for you so that your show can grow. So to sum all this up, you're not for everyone, and that's a good thing. And you decide for your requirements for your show can shift over time. But 4 things I really encourage you to consider before saying yes to a guest. 1, is there audience overlap? Sometimes you'll just know on the pitch immediately, that's a no from me. And sometimes there might be some back and forth, email or jumping on a pre-recording Zoom chat. 2, the topic. Sometimes people will send you a topic and you'll be like, that's a no from me. And sometimes you'll be like, what else do you have? So a no doesn't always mean no, end of story, goodbye. It could be no, not that topic. What else is there? 3, establishing rapport. Now, whether that's you insist on a pre-meet to chat, whether that's, as in my case, they send you through a few episodes and things that they've guested on before so you can get a feel for their style. Or whatever else it is, but like, what is it for you so that you know? I know one host who on her pre-chat thing, she literally says, if I'm not feeling it, like 5 minutes into the recording, I will call that and then we'll stop and we won't go forward. And then the guests know ahead of time that that could be the case. I know another host who says, I reserve the right not to publish an episode. And she said there's a couple of times where I've got off the call and I've just been like, that wasn't great for me. And she doesn't want to share it with her audience, but she's let the guests know. This is all about communication and being clear up front. Brene Brown has a quote which I live by, clear is kind. Whichever ones of these you choose to take, you can communicate them to your audience. And 4th, finally, aligned promotional strategy. Do you have a requirement for your guests to share it? If so, what is it? And can you communicate that to them ahead of time? Or do you don't mind and literally just get onto it for the conversation? Because, podcasting, in conclusion, in summary, podcasting is incredible. It's valuable. You get to meet and connect with people all around the world. You get to be that fly on that wall and listening in on some, incredible conversations. But unfortunately, we just don't have the time, space, and capacity to say yes to everybody who wants to come on our show. Like, what a problem to have, seriously. So I hope that these 4 steps can help you to, start to cull that list down and have the things in place that you can communicate forward so that you get the best fit guests for your show, so that it's a win for you, it's a win for the guests, they enjoy it, it's a good time spent, and it's a win for your audience, and both of you can grow your audience together. Thank you so much for watching. Bye for now.